What is up, everyone? We are back again. It is tea time with Robyn, episode 11. I think we have a lot to talk about. I'm here with Robyn, though. Hey, how you doing, Robyn?
Mouthful of coffee, but I'm
I'm
fine.
sorry.
No, seriously, I'm fine. And I just want to say, because we do have a lot to talk about, and some of it is a little weird, um, but I'm just grateful, episode 11, because I think
Yes,
we're starting to roll.
we are. I
Mhm.
love it.
I love it.
I think this is going to be a very interesting episode because, like I kind of said off mic, is that we're in a situation, and we're not going to really start with this right now. I just wanted to say because we're
Hmm.
talking about it. We're in a situation where I think we're both kind of unsettled about this off season, and I don't know if scared is the word, but just uneasy, a little uneasy going on with us right now with Bills Mafia and the Buffalo Bills, and maybe teams are kind of catching up with us, maybe, and I don't like it. I don't want to run away with the AFC because I love competition, but I need my GM and my head coach to do something.
Yeah, it's an off season that we haven't really had to deal with much as a fan, in my opinion, um, because we've been building, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been on the rise, and now we have the pieces in place. Now we have to figure out how to keep them or trade them
Right,
or do something to make the team more effective than they were last year in some of their areas of deficiency.
right.
And they had areas of deficiency that we'll talk about.
Absolutely. But before we do that, did you watch the Super Bowl?
Oh, yes, of
Okay.
course.
How did
And
you like it?
I loved it. It was a game. It was a good
It
game. And
was.
to me, that's, what if we don't have any skin in the game, then I want a good game.
Yeah.
And we got a pretty good game, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little surprised that Philadelphia's defense really didn't show up the way I kind of hoped they would. But I also have to wonder if that wasn't in part, that's just Andy Reid.
Man, Andy Reid is a magician. You can't not give him his accolades. He is a great quarterback. I mean, a coach. I don't know, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, you know what I mean?
Totally. I do.
It's there. I see why players want to go play with Andy Reid. I don't know who's doing the play calling. Don't get me into that. I don't really, whatever, who's ever doing it's great. But the play calls that they made, the adjustments that they made, the same play that they ran twice, and the Eagles didn't figure it out. I'm like, genius in game adjustments, Robyn.
That's it. Right there. You took the words right out of my.
Oh my
He is
God.
a magician. And we used to talk about Bill Belichick being able to make halftime adjustments like nobody's business. And
Yes.
and he does, and he still does, and he does in-game adjustments very well. But Andy Reid is like a magician.
Yes.
He watches, it's like he makes scheme adjustments within a drive. You know,
Oh.
this isn't working. So, oh, look at that. He can look at the defense
Mm-hmm.
defect like nobody's business. And if you think about what an offensive coordinator or a head coach who calls plays has to go through
Yeah.
in terms of processing everything on the field at that time and looking and trying to get the play in and all the things that they have to do, it's just mind-boggling to me how Andy Reid can do all of that, and at the same time he can look at a defense and just rip it apart.
Right. Right.
That's just what he does. But I will say this, I think that there are some lessons for the Bills. Every time you watch Andy Reid, you have to look for opportunity, right? So go back to the film during the off season and look at what he's done and
Mm-hmm.
try to come up with a plan to counter that. You have to be able to do that. And I give Ken Dorsey a lot of credit. He made it through his first year. There were some deficiencies in, I think, the way that he performed his job.
Hmm.
That he, in his first year, though, we have to give him a mulligan and allow him to understand and incorporate what a whole season entails and all of that, because he's never done it before.
Right.
And so I can't get too critical of him in some regards. There's some things I wish he did differently, but we'll talk about that later. But the Super Bowl was awesome.
Yeah, I just, like you said, we had no skin in the game. I mean, if I was rooting for one team, it was definitely the Eagles. But I'm not mad at the fact that, the Chiefs won. I mean, I guess the better team won. I think the Eagles really didn't have a lot of competition the regular season game, and you only play who was on your schedule for sure. But I, like you said, I thought the defense would show up, though. I was just surprised they didn't sack. I mean, they got him out of the pocket, they got him off the spot. I mean, but also too, it's Patrick Mahomes, and he runs around and stuff. And even though he was on one leg, he's
exactly
still
dude's on one leg and does what he does. What are you going to do? He's like, Josh Allen has some of his characteristics, not, they're different in some ways,
absolutely,
but they have similar characteristics in that once they get out of the pocket and they start improvising, you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. You can make a big play, and Josh is known for that, and so is Patrick Mahomes. I'm happy that he had his second Super Bowl. I was also shocked that the last play of the game was that play. Like I wish you would have just, because listen, we know there's holding in football. There's holding all the time in football. For it to come down to that play, it was just like, oh, come on, refs.
Yeah, I didn't, when you look at the play and you see, and the player said, it was obvious, he was holding whatever. But when you look at the play, it did not look egregious.
It didn't, because it was a bang, bang play. It was like, you know what I mean? It was just
Exactly.
I've seen worse.
Yes, much worse. That does not get called. So,
yes. And not even that, the ball was not even in, you couldn't even, it wasn't even catchable.
Exactly. And
so I don't know.
It was, yes, I agree with you completely that it was disappointing, that the game came down to that. And you hope that it would have just not been something the refs were involved in that led to the end of the game. So
because it was 3rd and 8, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. But it's just it shouldn't have ended that way.
No, it shouldn't have. But it was definitely a great Super Bowl. I was thinking, like, that defense is gonna, hold up and sack Pat, and it was just gonna be this one-sided, because I think everybody was thinking it was gonna be this one-sided game where the Eagles was gonna come in and dominate the Chiefs. And I was like, you still know you got Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey over there, and Andy Reid is that coach of miracles. So I didn't think it was going to be a blowout. I thought it was going to be a great game, and it turned out to be a really good game. So
you're right about Travis Kelce. He's the other one that it's like, whoa.
Yeah. But you know what? They got some other tight ends behind him.
That's
ridiculous.
Exactly. And so the Bills, if they want to get to the top of the mountain, they got to figure it out.
Yes, they do. But great game. I'm glad, the season has started, new season has started, and we could put that old season behind us. But before we do all that, Stefon Diggs were, doing his media run at the Super Bowl, and he had little comments about the Buffalo Bills and how he feels about how the season ended. And what's your take? Because I think he's still kind of salty, a little pissed off, which is understandable.
Yeah. Stefon Diggs let's start with Stefon Diggs being a wide receiver. And the personality of wide receivers is well known in terms of being a diva, uh, wanting the ball all the time, that sort of thing. I kind of think that's inherent in the personality of great wide receivers. That's what they want to do. That's what they're there to do. And they know inside of themselves, they can take over a game. Just give me the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's where their mind lies. And
Right.
so I'm not, and I know everybody made a big deal about it, but I'm not overly concerned
Mm-hmm.
about Stefan's comments because he consistently says what he thinks,
Absolutely.
and he's going to be honest to a blunt point at times because he feels he needs to be a leader. And being a leader sometimes is saying things that other people don't want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at Super Bowl row. I thought that was very interesting that he opened himself up to the media, because I do have a question for you, and if anybody's listening, to tweet me about this. But where was Josh Allen?
That's so funny because we do a segment on my other podcast. It's called Care or Careless, and I'm going to pose a question to Mike. Do we care if Josh was at the Super Bowl, at the Pro Bowl, at any of these things, at the honors? So Josh said this on Carl Brandt's The Basement. He said he doesn't want to get used to doing stuff like that. He doesn't want it to become a norm. He went to the honors, I guess, last year because I guess what happened to them last year, they were in the game, so whatever. And this year was a nasty taste. So for him, I guess he wanted to. What I took from this, he didn't want to be a part of something where he didn't feel that he finished the season right. And he didn't want it to be something that he does often. When he goes, he wants to go because we made it. You know what I mean? So he was just saying that he just doesn't want to be, and he didn't want to be around people. He said that as well. He didn't want to really be around all of the noise and all of the hoopla, just to lack for a better word. But yeah, I was kind of like, I got what I took from it. It was like Josh didn't want to be around people, and I don't blame him. I didn't blame him. I don't blame him. I guess if you continue to do it, if you're a Pro Bowler, you might have to go just to show face, just to show appreciation. You know what I mean? So I didn't take it to nothing, but it would have been nice to see him. But he didn't want to be around it.
I'm glad you told me that. I only heard a snippet of Kyle Brandt's interview with him. I'll go back and listen because I want to observe him and see what his face is like when he's talking about those things. It's fine. Everybody has to do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
The end of the season was not good. And I can understand why Josh would feel that way. And Josh has said, and I've mentioned this before, that he is an introvert. And that being the case, being one myself, I completely understand where he's coming from in terms of, I can't stand all the hoopla. I can't be around all these people. I don't want to talk to the media. I just want to rest and recuperate.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally, completely get that. However, and I want to go back and listen again to this interview with Kyle Brandt, because I still feel like something's going on with Josh, where his, and this is the therapist in me. I just get a strong sense from when he speaks that he's troubled.
You got to go and listen to the podcast, because you can read a little bit into what he is saying. He talked about his elbow and how it affected him, and how he had to adjust his throwing, and he couldn't throw the ball the way he wanted to. I don't know if that was because, getting back to Diggs, he said after week 9, they lost their identity.
After
Week 9. Yes, and I'm like, week 9 was week 9 Minnesota.
It could have been, and I was at that game.
Yeah, so I know, right?
Lost something at that game. I'm telling you what, they lost something at
Yeah,
that.
they Steph Diggs said it was just everything seemed much harder. Like they weren't doing the things that they did prior to that. Like things were easier. After week 9, things were harder. Like he said USA Today's radio, Dick said that their team lost their identity and the season just progressed, which means I think I took it as you didn't look for me. The offense didn't run through me anymore. The offense wasn't geared towards looking for Stephon Diggs because, like plenty of people said in Bills Mafia, where is Stephon Diggs and why is he not being targeted?
Exactly. And you wonder about that. Everybody was criticizing Ken Dorsey and his play calling, and that might have been part of it in terms of, it just didn't work out that when the opportunity came, he wasn't open or available. But you can scheme that. You can scheme him.
Yes.
Okay, there's ways that you do that. However,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, our offensive line also sucked in the last part of the season. And that's an issue, that was a huge issue. And we'll get into this during the, but I'm telling you what, both lines underperformed, did not perform consistently like they did earlier in the season.
Yeah. I think Devon went down. And it put more pressure on these guys to step up. Second season. This is the second season. Boogie Basham, AJ Epinesa, Groot. Who else was over there? Edwards. I'm not Oliver. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not his second season, but this guy went down. We got Daquan Jones in here, and I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. He didn't play that last game, and you've seen it.
Absolutely. He was key. He was the best defensive tackle.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. And the issue with Ed Oliver, you bring up this is a good time to talk about this. This is where sometimes you have to do painful things.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been seeing some talk about trading Oliver. And I'm not sure that's a bad idea necessarily, because I'm not sure that he's being utilized to his best ability based on the kind of scheme that we have on our defensive line. He's undersized. And so I think that may be an issue. So here's my little thing that I'm thinking of during the off season. It's like, okay, sometimes you really have to do painful things. So if you're not going to pay Ed Oliver, what about thinking about a trade? And a trade that makes a lot of sense to me, because he would love to go back to Texas, is trade him to the Cowboys for Diggs' brother.
Oh.
Something like that. I'm just thinking, out of the box here.
Right.
But something like that might fly. Then you do two things. You make Diggs happy.
Right.
What he wants. You end up getting a great safety in the process, which
we need.
And it's a win-win, right? It's like
I like that.
It's just,
I mean, I don't know how it can happen money-wise.
Right.
But, listen, and if you're listening to this and if it's just far-fetched, just hear us out. I love that. I love that. Like you said, he's from Texas.
You would love to Texas, and they could use him. And I just think that something like that, these are the things that are going to happen during this off season to tune up this offensive line, defensive line, defense.
Mm-hmm.
All of that has to be fixed in the off season. And we might as well start talking about what kind of wild things could happen, because we do have to open up our minds. Bean does think out of the box,
He does. He
and
does.
I I think something like that would be doable and might be a win-win for both teams.
I like that, Robyn. I really do. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm just saying,
I
you
like
know,
that.
I'm just saying. So my bottom line with Stefan is I don't have a problem at all with him talking. In fact, I appreciate it very much because he lets us know what's really going on behind the scenes. He, he doesn't he doesn't give you coach speak. Josh will talk you coach speak
Oh,
until
absolutely. He was talking when you listen to it. He's talking in code, and I'll say this: he said something in there, and maybe I'm reading too much into it because I want to say he asked him about, "Are you guys on the same page?" And Josh said yes. Brandon Bean, Sean McDermott, and I are all on the same page. And I'm like, all right, where's Steph in that equation? Steph's not in that equation. So I just took it like that. I'm not reading too much into it because we're so used to that brotherly love between Josh and Steph, and to where now, because of the way how it ended, we're grasping for stuff to make us feel good because of how we've seen Stephon Diggs last time and how he was frustrated. So we
exactly.
want to feel comfortable to say, are they good? Should we be worried? Oh God, what's going on? You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna sit back and let this all play out and know that next season, this season coming up, they'll be hungry again.
I
You
hope
know?
so.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how it all flows through the off season. But I will say I have concerns about where Josh is at mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that he got the rest that he got. I really hope that he's spending. I know he's in California. I've seen pictures.
Mm-hmm.
He's at his place in Orange County, which I believe is next nearby Jordan Palmer, where
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Palmer lives, and they spend a lot of time together. I really think Josh needs Jordan Palmer right now. He needs and not just to work on his mechanics.
Yeah.
Jordan Palmer is a very, very smart guy, and he didn't get to where he got doing all this quarterback development because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Very smart, but he also understands the psychology
The
of the
mental.
job
Mm-hmm.
and also the social implications of the job. Now, let's get real here for just a second, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Josh Josh had a major life event change when he signed that big contract. And Josh is a person who is a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we don't win a Super Bowl every year, it gets harder and harder and harder because he knows this is on him
Yeah.
and he feels that responsibility. And I think at this moment, it's weighing on him. I do.
But Robyn,
Mhm.
I'll say this. Absolutely, you are correct. But Josh also has to understand that Josh can't do it. And I think Josh is not there yet.
He's not.
You've seen it last year where he would will this team to victory. And there's other times in a game you need more people, Josh. You need a Diggs. You need a Davis. You need to trust Shakir. You need to throw that ball to Cook. You need to take the dump down to freaking Devin Singletary. You need your players. You can't do it alone. And I'm interested to see this season how he's going to take that step. Because we've seen Josh take steps. How are you
Exactly.
going to take that leadership and spread the ball around now? Because you can't do it by yourself.
That's something that I think is a habit that got into Josh at Wyoming. When you play at the University of Wyoming, it's not Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You don't have the same kind of offensive line. You don't have the same kind of talent. Good players, few of them make it in the NFL, but it's not a great program.
Right.
When Josh was at Wyoming, That was his reputation, man. Going to the rodeo,
Yeah,
dude.
it was a cowboy.
Cowboy, Wyoming cowboy. And that meant he put everything on himself
Mm-hmm.
and literally carried the team. And when you beat Boise State, I mean, it's like crazy what he did. But he's in the NFL, and you're right.
Right.
You're absolutely right. But the other thing that concerns me for Josh, just that he's got to work through this too in his
Mhm.
personal life. You make this big contract, all this money,
Yeah,
and your life changes.
definitely.
People change. People want you, people all of a sudden it's different,
Mm-hmm.
because here you are, the guaranteed $100 million man.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that that transition is not always easy for people. Some people can just run with it and they're fine. But Josh came from a farmer background. Now his parents weren't poor by any means. They own a lot
Right.
of land in California, but at the same time, he grew up with a whole different, set of values. And the reason why he talks about this, the reason why he wrote 1,000 letters to colleges, because he did not want to have his father have to pay for his college education.
Right.
And that was his motivation at the time. So I'm thinking that along with everything that you're saying, that there's also a social transition that needs to be made for Josh here in terms of how his life has changed. And that part of it is where I think Jordan Palmer can really help him as well.
Yeah.
Because, Jordan wasn't a top tier quarterback, but he played in the NFL and his brother was.
Mm-hmm.
So he understands the process of what happens when you become an NFL player and all the social implications that go along with that. And I hope, along with what you're saying in terms of him learning to distribute the ball and not put it all on himself, I hope that he is getting the right kind of support for how his life has changed.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that when he does when it's the off season, there is someone there
For
to
him.
correct his mistakes and make him put him on notice. Basically, just put him on notice.
Yep.
Um, let's switch it up a little bit because we talked about the line, and we're going to switch it to the defensive line and talk about Von Miller
Mm.
wanting to be ready for Week 1.
Okay.
Von. I want Von healthy. I don't need you to be ready for Week 1 just because you want to prove that you're ready for Week 1. Now, he was telling doctors, so he's going to be in rehab for 9 months. He's hoping to be back for 6. I don't need him back in August. I don't need him back in September. I know we're going to have a rough schedule. This schedule that's coming up is going to be rough.
It's a tough schedule.
It's yeah, oh man, yes. And like we said off mic, that everybody is catching up with the Buffalo Bills, and people are saying our window is closed. I say if you have Josh Allen, you have Stephon Diggs, your window's not closed. You need just pieces, and you need your GM and your coach to make sure you get the right pieces that fit into this organization.
Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line.
You need to protect Josh.
That is, to me, in my mind, the most critical thing. Now, regarding Von Miller, I believe that his intentions are good in terms of wanting to be back in 6 months. Maybe he can. You look at some players that recover faster than others. Some players take a couple of years. They come back their first year, they're not quite the same. The next year they're back to their norm. He's not getting any younger.
33.
However, he is the leader of the defense. He is the bona fide leader of the defense, and we need him. The Bills need him. If he's not in the lineup, I'm with you. I don't see any necessity for him to, be going through OTAs and all of that kind of stuff. However, his presence as a coach on the sidelines, the work that he does with Groot in
Yes,
particular intrigues me because he sees what Groot is capable of.
absolutely. He said it last year.
He did. And here's the thing he said that just it resonated with me so much about Groot. Groot is too laid back. Groot
Yeah,
needs the eye of the tiger.
he need that gasoline and that
Got
gunpowder and gasoline.
gunpowder and gasoline. That's right. And that's what I think he needs is somebody to light a fire under his butt. So if Vaughn is not on the field, I want him on the sidelines screaming in Groot's ear, every
Hmm.
step of the way, please, every step of the way.
And if Boogie Basham and AJ Epinesa is not here because they traded him or whatever the case may be, and you get somebody else on the opposite or you draft someone else, I'm fine with that. I'm sorry, AJ Epinesa, you have not shown anything for me to say bring him back.
I don't know what the scheme is, in terms of it's a scheme thing that maybe he would do better on it in another type of defense or what.
Right.
It seems like everything they've tried with him, oh, we want you to lose weight. Okay, he loses weight.
You
Then
lost too much weight. Put some weight back on. It's just I don't know. It's like he's good like the first 3 games and then he's gone.
it's
He disappears.
yeah, the coordinators find some way to stop him, and it's easy to do apparently. But I think if we have Von Miller, nothing more than screaming in Groot's ear on the sidelines for a while, I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that. But we do definitely need to improve the functionality of the defensive line because it
Yeah.
wasn't working up to par. The talent level that was there, they underachieved overall.
It was underwhelming.
Yes, they were.
For you to spend that much money on that defense and to show up the way you did. And I don't want to even say the last game because the last game is the last game. It is what it is. But underwhelming from other games. Not having sacks, not having pressures. You spend too much money on that defense to not be effective in a game.
Exactly.
After Vaughn went down, and I know people got statistics and stuff like that. I know they dropped majorly. They dropped when Vaughn was there in the lineup. They were top whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When he got out and it was hurt, they were bottom whatever. So you can go figure that out. But they were not a good team, good defensive team when Vaughn went down. And that's just one player. And I know Vaughn is a dynamic player, but I mean,
yeah, we've got lots of issues on both lines that have to be resolved and tinkered with.
mm-hmm.
And I'm with you in terms of if it's necessary to trade somebody like AJ Epinesa for a player that fits the scheme better, let's do it. It's the same
or
thing
picks, whatever.
At Oliver. Yeah.
Whatever
Give us
whatever you have to do because they don't have the money, they don't have the funds, they don't have it like that. So whatever you have to do to improve on both sides of the ball, I am with it. But I mean, I want both sides of the ball, but I want Josh to be protected, and we need to protect Josh at all costs. He cannot continue to get beat up the way he did last year. He can't.
He can't. He'll be out, and if he's out, that team can't function that well without him.
Right. And not even that, Robyn, we also need a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Case Keenum, I don't know if he comes back next year. We have 21, I want to say 21, and we'll get into this too. We have 21 free agents. Everybody can't come. Everybody can't go.
No, and it's going to be interesting to see how they maneuver around because I do think that there's going to have to be some trades made in order for them to fix those lines.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say if you put too many young people in like rookies that you draft, you're going to have trouble. So I do believe that free agency is going to have to be active.
And you say that, right? it's so crazy because I am so tired of always being behind Kansas City,
Yeah.
because Kansas City started a lot of rookies. And in the beginning of the season, it was kind of, people were like, oh, they're not going to finish first. They were talking all this stuff. Kansas City still had rookies, and they won a freaking Super Bowl. And it seems like Buffalo Bills are always trying to play catch up when it comes to the
Right.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
We're always chasing them.
Right. It's interesting you say that, because on One Bills Live yesterday, they asked a question about whether or not it would be better to copy Kansas City style or come up with something new. And I'm like, let's do something new.
Can we do something new?
Can we leapfrog them by being unique and taking them out instead of the other way around?
Because you know what it is? We was trying to chase them because we needed an edge rusher. We went and got Vaughn. Vaughn got hurt. We weren't even in the AFC Championship because we couldn't even get past the Bengals. Now here we are again at home, new season. Who are we chasing again? The Chiefs, and maybe the Bengals too. But we need weapons because they got weapons. And so does Kansas City. But I am just so sick and tired of chasing. And I get it, because the AFC, people are chasing the Bills in the AFC conference, right? And the division. But now, if the Jets get a quarterback, they say if they get Rodgers, they're saying that the Jets leapfrogs over us, and we're number 2. And I'm just like, okay.
They just need a quarterback. Jets if they got Aaron Rodgers, we in trouble. We in trouble because the Jets defense is elite. They got their defense fixed.
I've never, and we've talked about this, I've never felt so uneasy in an offseason. I've never felt so uneasy.
It's been a long time. I would agree. Again, my big concerns, I'm looking at Josh. I want Josh to be okay. I trust Bean and company to fix the lines and get something going there. I trust that they'll get that done. But I'm worried about Josh in here. He's got to get this fixed. And that's his big thing in this off season, because I think if he does that, the rest of it will all fall into place.
Right.
But
Well,
I feel like he's right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, and again, it's still early. We're in February. I mean, maybe I won't feel like this in July, but I feel like this right now in February. And I also wanted to talk to you about this. And you spoke about Bean. Do you feel, because it came out, a little rumor said that the front office hasn't spoken to Jordan Poyer about his contract. I believe that might be the case, but I believe this is the number, and this is the number that's on the table. Beat me with the number. We don't even have to speak anymore. My number is my number.
You're saying Poyer's saying that, or
no?
Bean?
Brandon Bean.
I believe
Do you
that.
believe? Yeah. Okay.
I do. I absolutely believe that. In terms of talking, you never know how these rumors get started.
I know.
That sort of thing. And so as far as rumors go, I actually don't dismiss them outright. Any rumor. I listen to them, because sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right.
And you hear a rumor, and then you get a piece over here and a piece over here, and some of it kind of smells. And that can be one thing. This situation, I think like a lot of things that the media does, they blow things out of proportion.
Oh, absolutely.
They're looking for clickbait. They're looking for any kind of story they can find. There's no way that there would be some kind of animosity or I'm not going to talk to you kind of thing. That's not how Brandon Bean operates. That's not his personality. He's very honest and forthright, and he's always said that he's had a lot of respect for Poyer. I don't think there's any issue there. Where I think some of this might be coming from is that I'm not so sure that Jordan's wife wants to stay in Buffalo. there's always been this kind of feeling
Yeah.
that she would rather be in Florida.
Well, they packed up their house.
Exactly. That was the other thing I was going to tell you, that's kind of telling. After 6 years, because she posted that after
Hmm.
6 years, you can't imagine how hard it is to pack up and everything. When I saw that, I was like, so Poyer's gone. Because why would they move all their stuff if they're
Right.
legitimately trying to make an effort to stay? That doesn't make sense to me.
Listen, for me, and I know there's a lot of people in the fan base that want Jordan Poyer. And you know what? If we can get him cheap, I'm with it. But listen, at some point, Hyde's going to be gone. We knew that this marriage was not going to be forever. And we knew that the contracts, the way they were structured, was because of that, because you don't want to have both safeties gone. So you would have one and then another. I'm good with whatever they decide to do. Also heard a rumor that Stephon Diggs wants to be traded. I mean, this is the offseason. A lot of stuff talks. A lot of people talk. But when it comes to Jordan Poyer, it's about money and your age, and nothing else. And I know Brandon Beane didn't even take it personal when Cole Beasley was doing his shenanigans.
Exactly.
So why would he do this to Jordan Poyer when Jordan Poyer didn't do? He was the ideal player.
He's never done anything controversial in that way. Never has mentioned his displeasure, etc. When he's been quizzed about his contract, he's always very honest.
Yeah, because he had said on a radio station, I forgot where it was, I apologize, that he doesn't know where he stands with the Buffalo Bills. Right. Now, I'm pretty sure you kind of know a little bit how you stand. Is it something that Brandon B has spoken to you about? Probably not. The number is the number. It's on the table. That's the number.
I agree. And furthermore, safety position isn't a position that they're going to overpay for.
No.
They're strapped financially. And surely Jordan Poyer knows this.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's
and that's why you packed your house up. Because you know you're not going to get what you want. And I'll be honest, they took these contracts, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, and yes, you weren't paid. Maybe you're in your position, you weren't, but you also took that. We could say this. We could say the same thing when it comes to Matt Milano. Matt Milano took a discount.
He did.
A hometown discount. He did. Do I expect Tremaine to do that? No. If Tremaine wants to be here, he'll do what he needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would be upset if Tremaine left, because I think Tremaine is 24, 25, like that. And he's still
young, vital,
yes.
all of that.
Yeah.
He's the one player on defense that, I don't want to say confuses me, because that's not the right word.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no feeling like, usually I have a feeling like with Jordan Poyer, I feel like, oh, he's done. He's moved his stuff. He's gonna move on. With Tremaine, I don't know what to think.
Yeah, I mean, either.
I don't know whether he would take a hometown discount.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm clueless.
You know what it is? It's the same thing, I think, with Matt Milano, because I don't think we knew what Matt Milano wanted to do.
No, and actually it was shocking to me when it came out that he just told his agent, I'm not going around, just make it work in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, okay. I don't know that Tremaine will or will not do that. But like you, I like him, and I really think he has tremendous potential still.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that he's reached his peak
not at all
in terms of his performance. So it would be great to keep him, but again, it's going to boil down to the money. You got to make it work.
You have to. You have to
trade another player, do whatever you have to do.
And they love him, so they love Tremaine. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're going to talk about these free agencies, this whole off season. I wanted to speak about something else, but we went over a little bit. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss it on the next episode because we hired a new wide receivers coach. Out of he was with Odell Beckham out of LSU.
Right.
So we'll talk about that next episode because I really want to get into it with you to see is that tied to Odell? Things that make you go, Unless you got something else.
I only have one thing to mention, and that's I always mention our blog and what's going on in the blog.
Absolutely.
And Dean Kindig, our draft guru, is at it, and there are, I think now 3 of his articles up. One was on, two. One was on not wide receivers. One was on guards, and one was on safeties.
I'm gonna look.
One that I'm gonna edit and put out is tomorrow. Will be on wide receivers. So be sure to take a look at the fanbase.com blog and Dean Kindig's work, because if you want to know anything about the college players who are going to be entering the draft, and the ones in particular that the Buffalo Bills have sent scouts to visit, he's the guy to read because he has all the information that you can imagine about every player that the Bills have scouted. So you got questions about the offensive line? Take a look at what Dean's writing. He's a magician in his own way. Into one article, and there's so much information in everything that he writes about players. So if you want to start getting ready for the draft or even the combine to look at players, like who do you want to look at the combine? I know I have a few players on my list I want to look at in terms of how they measure out with other players. This is the time to get started on that. I love the off season.
Me too. I do too. I'm not gonna lie. I do. Yeah. I'm gonna actually link those onto the episode when I put it out tomorrow, so you guys can just go there and link it up and read it, because I'm definitely gonna check it out too. Because I checked out your article the last episode we did, and also some players that he was scouting and that Brandon Bean went to go see. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yes.
Very interesting stuff that he does. So
absolutely,
if you really have any interest at all in learning about who the Bills are interested in the draft and the players in terms of all of their particulars, he also takes, in addition to the measurables, he takes interviews and rates them. Like, is this a guy that's going to be fit into the culture at One Bills Drive? That's an issue too. We've heard
absolutely
them say that. So take a look at what Dean Kindig is doing, because his work is so underappreciated, and I would love to see more people get involved with the work that he's doing.
Okay, definitely. Yeah. And next month is a big month. It's March, and we have a lot going on. The draft, free agency, all of that is going on. That's the combine, right? All of that is going on. So we're gonna have some stuff for you guys. We're gonna be back here next week, but in March there's a lot of going on.
There's a lot going on.
Yes, a little long today, but I wanted us to talk about the Super Bowl. I wanted us to speak about Diggs and Josh and see where they're at mentally. But we'll talk about again our new wide receivers coach next week. Thank you, Robyn. I appreciate you. This was an awesome episode.
I love you.
I love you too.
This is just the beginning of what we're going to do.
It truly is.
It's so much fun to talk with you, because we seem to be so much on the same wavelength. And I love to debate.
Absolutely.
And it's wonderful, and it's so much fun to talk about some of the other things that go on that make the team what they are. Tangibles.
Yeah, not just the X's and the O's with us. We're going to give you other stuff, sidebar stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And especially for me, I'm interested in this stuff.
The mental.
And
for sure.
the mental part of the game. And I think during the off season, it's going to be very interesting to see how the administration decides to reconfigure the team as we
Mm-hmm.
go. But thank you. I am
Thank
having
you.
so much fun on this podcast.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for tuning in. I am T. That is Robyn. This is Tea Time with Robyn. So peace, y'all.
Go
So,
Bills.
go Bills. Peace.